Hello and welcome to the Sim Racing Corner. This is the brand new Moza Racing R5 Racing Simulator Bundle. It is a complete package composing of the R5 5.5 Newton meter direct drive powered wheelbase along with a sturdy full metal table clamp. This full featured D-shaped steering wheel is named the ES and is 280mm in diameter. And the final component every wheelbase needs is some pedals, and for that we get the SRP Lite pedals. I've had this set up for over 2 weeks pre-launch, so I've had ample time to run it for its paces in multiple racing games and really get to grips with it. So this is a full review. We'll get to some racing later in the video and I'll give you an in-depth evaluation on its performance. But first, let's run through all the features, so sit down, settle in and enjoy. The R5 wheelbase is compact, the enclosure is aluminium. Despite the small size, it is reassuringly sturdy. The case acts as a heatsink to dissipate heat from the motor. There's no fan needed and is quiet in use. The construction is not entirely metal. The back panel hosting the sockets is plastic. The power button is also located here. There are 4 M6 threaded holes for hard mounting or for attaching the included table clamp. The R5 wheelbase by itself weighs just 3.4 kilograms. And when we add the wheel rim, we get a total of 4.9 kilograms. This is the 96 watt power supply unit for the R5 wheelbase. We have the standard Moza quick release at the end of this short steering column. I did not encounter any flex or play. It provides a solid and reliable connection to the wheel. The pattern of gold terminals powers and carries data over the slip ring connection through to the button plate on the ES wheel. The wheelbase recognises the wheel as soon as it is attached. The ES wheel is only compatible with the R5 wheelbase, and at the time of making this video, all other models of Moza wheel rims do not currently communicate with the R5 wheelbase. It's also worth mentioning you can use third-party wheels and button plates. A Moza wheel is not an exclusive requirement for operating the R5 or any other Moza wheelbase. This button plate has a coiled USB cable. It plugs directly into my PC. Moza does sell wheel side adapters for this very purpose, but I also found the Moza base side connection is compatible with the D1 spec quick release system. The table clamp is steel, 4 bolts attach this to the wheelbase. You can see the jaws of the clamp are generous, supporting a table thickness of up to around 6 centimeters. I'd say is about a safe bet there. Do bear in mind, the thicker the table will increase the overall extension of the clamp screws. My pedals are in a raised position and my legs are not far from being horizontal, not quite, but close to it, and it was fine in this arrangement. I had no clearance issues with the clamp. The angle of the clamp is fixed, it is strong, this flex is coming from the wheel deck and not the clamp. The aluminium spoked D-shaped ES rim is 280mm across, covered by stitched synthetic leather. The grip area is shaped for ergonomics, so is comfortable to handle. There are plenty of buttons within reach. These are all pre-labelled for convenience, but you are free to map them to any controls you prefer in your game. The buttons have the same tactile feel as a gamepad. This is a feature I find useful. The LED shift light indicator gives a visual on the engine RPM and flashes when it's time to upshift. Timing shifts is important to maximise the power output of the engine. Moza includes a similar LED output on their premium wheel rims, so it's good to see it here also. The button box enclosure is a plastic shell. There's no creaking or flex. The quick release is metal, as are the spokes of the rim, so it's effectively supported by a metal frame and feels robust. The fit and finish of the ES wheel is to a high standard. It's a good design, and being 280mm makes it lightweight and ideal for the torque of the R5 wheelbase. The Moza Racing SR-P Lite is a full-sized pedal set constructed from pressed steel parts. The pedals plug into the back of the wheelbase. They cannot be used standalone over USB. They are designed specifically to plug into the back of the R5 wheelbase. On first glance, they look almost identical to the regular SRP pedal set, as they are essentially of the same design but not identical in every way. The Lite pedals do not feature a load cell brake, and instead we have 3 identical pedals featuring Hall sensors and spring tension. Rubber feet provide grip. The pedals can be hard mounted. The hole pattern matches the Fanatec CSL pedal mounting hole design, so if your pedal deck is pre-drilled for Fanatec pedals, then you are in luck, as the SRP Lite's pedals will fit perfectly. Moza has included a bag of nuts and bolts for hard mounting. That's the final part of this bundle, and like everything else in this bundle, these pedals are built to a good standard. We'll cover the pedals more when we get on track, and I'll give you some details about how they've been running there. And there you go, that's the full product tour of the Moza Racing R5 Racing Simulator bundle. Out of the box, this is a complete setup, and all that remains before you can go racing is to install the Moza Pit House software, so let's take a look at that. Moza sent me a special beta version of the Moza Pit House software to support this new hardware, but I'm pretty sure this will be more or less what you can expect for things to come upon release. It's a nicely fleshed out application that's easy to follow with plenty of features. Under the basic settings, you can add damping, friction, inertia, adjust the force feedback torque, and set the wheel rotation angle. Standard stuff. Road sensitivity relates to the road surface effects. If you find the effects feel overly sharp, you can soften them by reducing that setting here. For this wheelbase, 9 or 10 is fine. Personally, I generally avoid introducing artificial damping and friction in the driver software. That's entirely up to you. That's just personal to my preferences, and if I feel it's necessary, I'll look to do that in the game itself. I'm going to skip ahead as I don't want to bore you and scrutinise every element of the software, but before we move on, I do want to show you the pedal section as I think it's quite interesting. What we can do here is alter the input curve of the pedals. For the throttle and clutch, I expect you'll leave those as default, but for the brake, changing from the standard linear curve you may find improves your braking, so it's worth experimenting with that. You can try out the presets or make up a custom one, so you have plenty of versatility there. With every setting here shown here and everything else you can do in the software, you can alt-tab to the Moza Pit House software and make adjustments on the fly without leaving your game, so that's useful to know too. Now the fun bit, the testing and evaluation. For all of my wheelbase reviews, I've run the hardware for a number of popular racing game titles. Given that I'm using pre-release beta version of the drivers, I might expect to encounter some compatibility issues. And I did, just with a couple of games, both Codemasters games, so I put it down to simply those beta drivers, and I have passed this back onto Moza, and I'm sure they'll fix it upon launch. So Dirt Rally 2.0 and Grid 2019, both mapped but no force feedback. As this is a hardware bundle, there is a lot to cover here. So let's start off with the wheelbase first. The peak torque output is 5.5 Newton meters. This wheelbase is going up against the CSL DD 5 Newton meters without the boost kit upgrade, of course, and also Thrustmaster's premium belt-driven wheelbase range. In the scheme of things, we're talking about top-tier mid-range racing hardware. 5.5 Newton meters might seem low for a direct drive system when you consider there are wheelbases out there rocking over 30 Newton meters, if you don't mind spending the money, of course. But before you dismiss the idea of the Moza R5, no one really complains about the Thrustmaster wheelbases being underpowered, and compared to those Thrustmaster wheelbases that engage belts and gears to multiply the torque from a small motor to reach their peak torque output, the R5 is just one large motor connected to the wheel. That's a single moving part, it's more durable, there's no additional parts adding friction, the sensation of force feedback is clean and smooth. Plus it's able to do this in a very compact package, making it easy to mount into a small space, and that's definitely a useful feature. And between a Thrustmaster wheelbase and the Moza R5, a direct drive motor will always outperform the one using belts and gears. There's no contest. The R5 has enough power to deliver strong feeling punchy effects like curbs and collisions, While navigating corners, you want that force feedback to communicate the tyres loading up, along with a feeling of progressive weight transfer. From this, you should be able to understand how much traction you have. On the channel, I've reviewed many wheelbases, most being less powerful than the R5, and from my experience, I can find it challenging to feel connected with a car if the force feedback strength is weak. And if you're relying on the force feedback to find the limits like I do, and the effects are vague, it's very easy to overdrive the car and make mistakes. I'm not finding that limitation with the Moza R5. It's providing enough power and there's good detail to go with it. It shares the same technical advantages of more powerful and expensive direct drive wheelbases. Super smooth, agile wheel rotation and transmitting those game effects with precise detail. I feel completely confident leaning on the consistent force feedback from the Moza R5. I know exactly how the car is behaving. If I push too hard, the force feedback pushes back. I can use that to experiment, testing different driving lines and braking points, seeking to eke out every advantage. It's intuitive. When you nail it perfectly, it's not just what you see through your eyes, it's what you feel through the wheel. The force feedback is talking back to you. It's really good stuff. Moza has partnered the wheelbase with the 280mm ES wheel. It's perfect for the capability of the wheelbase. The ES is light and the size helps maximise the performance from the motor. Heavier and larger diameter wheels make the motor work harder, resulting in a reduction of felt force feedback strength and detail. Higher torque wheelbases can offset that, obviously, by simply being more powerful. The Moza R5 has to work within its means, so that's why we get this ES wheel, and it is a good quality rim, it handles well, it looks good, and there's plenty of buttons too. Now, what about those SRP Lite pedals? They are a full-sized metal pedal set using non-contact Hall sensors. Definitely sturdy. I have no concerns on their durability. There's no plastic parts, the pedals move smoothly and tight tolerances throughout. My first impression is a positive one. When it comes to pedals, I'm not a snob. I can happily use cheaper pedal sets, but I do prefer a load cell brake. That's important to me. The SRP Lite brake does not have a load cell. It's a simple linear sensor. All three pedals are identical. They all feel the same. It's not often I use a basic brake like this. I did have to readjust. On my second day of testing, I got a fair measure of how to work with that brake. I found compared to a load cell brake, I needed to brake a little earlier to hit my braking points here. And once I worked that out, I was generally competent and I had a good time, I was having fun with it. But if I was going to make an unforced error, it was going to be down to that brake. The pedal travel is long and that did help. The greater the pedal throw increases the distance between 1 and 100% input, and that did make things a bit easier. As for the throttle and the clutch, as all pedals are identical, there's not much more to add. They're doing just fine. Reasonable spring tension. Build quality is like everything else we've seen so far. It's top notch, and technical performance is as good as I can expect from a set of pedals like this. Okay, it's time to round up this video, guys, this review, and overall I've had a lot of fun with the Moza R5 Racing Simulator bundle. The only weak link holding it back from being perfect out of the box as a sim racing solution is the lack of a load cell brake. Given that this bundle and the price point is very attractive, definitely check that out, guys. It is a very good value product. I think that is acceptable. I really do like what Moza has put together here. If you're rocking a Logitech setup or a Thrustmaster T300 or below, this is a big step up, a really good upgrade for you guys. It's a level where you'll discover that force feedback has so much more depth and detail and significantly more useful for understanding how the car is operating. It's a more enjoyable experience. You really will appreciate, the difference it makes. If you're looking to jump into sim racing for the first time, potentially you'll want to start off with an even cheaper setup than this, just to make sure it's something you're going to stick at. That would be my default advice there, but if you don't mind spending more for a premium experience, the Moza R5 will blow your socks off. I can tell you that for certain. You will love it. This is high quality hardware with excellent performance. As far as I'm concerned, right now you won't find anything better out there on the market at this price point. They really have knocked it out of the park with this bundle. Well done, Moza Racing, good work. And that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, I'll be back soon with something new. So until next time, happy simming and bye bye.